Each spring, there are Unitarian Universalist communities everywhere celebrating something called Flower Sunday, or Flower Ceremony, or Flower Communion, a ritual in which everyone is invited to bring a flower to the service. The flowers are gathered all together in some way, and then everyone leaves with a different flower than the one they brought. This ritual has deep roots, and it's extraordinary that in a denomination that has such diversity of practice and so much independence between UU congregations, it's extraordinary to know that this is something that we share, something that connects us across time and space and borders to so many of our fellow UUs who we will never meet. The roots of the UU flower celebration go back more than 100 years to 1920s Prague, where a Unitarian minister named Norbert Čapek first thought to introduce a new ritual to his congregation. Walking along and enjoying the beauty of the Czech countryside, Čapek was considering the difficult puzzle of finding practices that would avoid the contention and exclusion that he saw in the traditional Christian communion at the time. Flowers, he thought as he walked. No one can be angry about flowers. They would be the perfect symbol of his congregation's diversity of thought and their hope for mutual acceptance. The beauty of one flower, after all, does nothing to dim the beauty of another, and their combination creates something even more incredible: a bouquet, a garden, a meadow. The practice of the flower celebration, and celebration is apparently the closest translation to the original Czech rather than communion or other variants, but they all work. The practice of the flower celebration gained popularity among European Unitarians, and Čapek continued to serve his congregation for another 20 years, alongside his wife, Maya, who was also an ordained Unitarian minister. Čapek himself was arrested in the 1940s, accused of listening to anti-Nazi broadcasts, and he died in the Dachau concentration camp. But his wife, Maya, successfully escaped to the USA, and she brought the flower celebration with her. In 1940, the Unitarian Church of Cambridge, Massachusetts, celebrated a Flower Sunday for the first time in her and Norbert's honor, and it's been part of the Unitarian and then Unitarian Universalist calendar ever since. To know our past, to know where we come from, is to understand our own roots. These rituals connect us not just to one another here in this room, here in this community, but to all who came before us. It is a deep joy to be speaking here alongside Neighborhood's Minister Emeritus, Rev Wayne Walder, who retired from a long and fruitful ministry here in 2022, and who's here today to mark his new relationship with Neighborhood as emeritus, as wise elder, as history speaker and storyteller, and fellow UU seeking spiritual community. Neighborhood's roots are forever entwined and enriched by Wayne's spirit and his care. His words light our chalice each Sunday. His leadership echoes in the hearts of our most longtime members. His art decorates our sanctuary. His hands built good portions of this space, including the light box behind the stained glass art in our cappuccino room. Roots are what connect us, ground us, reaching out under the surface level of things, digging into what lies underneath. And what looks to a first glance like a field of separate stems and blooms and stalks, once we get deeper into the roots, is revealed to be intertwined, entangled with one another. And the separation is the illusion. We are connected. We are mutually intertwined with one another, with our fellow living beings, plant and animal and human, and with the earth itself, soil, water, and sky. Let us root ourselves in that truth today.
I just wanted to thank you all for having me. You know, it's been a while. And it was hard to imagine a future when the congregation was just beginning, because there were no chairs, no hymn books, no choir director, no policies or committees, no art, no dishes, no partners, no helpers. There was no building. We met in church basements, school gyms, a mortuary, a rented therapy building, and a park before we landed at Hiawatha. This place was really only a dream. This beautiful, custom-made sanctuary on the subway in Hippie Central, connected to 2 other faith groups. Now, with policies, it has committees, budgets, investments, choir retreats, small groups. It's really a miracle that it happened in our very secular world. Even though it was hard for us to imagine the future, when Neighbourhood began, the future was always on our mind. How would we be able to buy those chairs? How would we get a piano, a building? How would we build a spiritual community that cared for each other, depended on each other, deepened our souls and touched our hearts? How would we raise millions of dollars, build programs, hire staff, create welcome in the space and in ourselves? Truly, a tiny miracle. Combining luck, of course, hard work, and vision by the kind people who worked at it. After thinking about it, though, I wonder if the early members, some of whom are absolutely here, had in the back of their minds the idea that they were doing it for you. They were doing it for you. I believe they were willing to do the hard lifting so that you could take this community and take it to its next chapter and make it one of the most wonderful spiritual communities in Toronto. Forgive an old man for dreaming. I imagine that you might continue to deepen spiritual growth here. The real kind, where almost everyone practices whatever touches you almost every day. Where you realize that working on spirit is essential with all the cultural forces trying to steal it away. And like in a Buddhist Sangha, you can talk about spirit because that will help you understand how to make it grow and deepen, and also hear from your friends how they see it and incorporate that into your understanding. Forgive an old man for dreaming. I imagine that you will continue to open your hearts in this place, and honestly to each other, so that growth you are not even aware of comes and resides in you and around you and through you. And I'm imagining that instead of virtue signaling, you find a few things, just a few, that make a small difference in the world that you care for. Let others fix the world. Make sure you love it. Make sure you love it. This next chapter with Sally and all of you is yours to discover. It's yours to create and live. I know this, don't get me wrong. But I hope you'll remember that there is a DNA here created by those who did that heavy lifting. It can help you. It's a DNA of spirit that can help open the doors inside you that you may not know exist. The DNA can help you open your heart, too. I'm not naive. I know it's dangerous to open yourselves to people you don't really know, to speak of intimate things that come from your dreams and your stillness, from your heart. This DNA I'm imagining can help you find the courage and the vision necessary for this next chapter, the way spiritual communities blossom. Because they blossom by caring for others and not criticizing. That, of course, doesn't mean that they don't hold each other accountable. They do. They hold each other accountable, even if they don't criticize. This kind of spiritual growth deepens us and gives us courage to connect with ourselves and each other. This open heart also allows us to see the world through not only our eyes, but each other's eyes, widening our experience. And when we care for the world, we realize that caring is far more effective than criticism. Long ago, the Greeks used a word that combines good and the way, eudos. And it means that you have a good way forward. I have a feeling that you can take what has been collected, what has been worked for, what has been lifted, and in a good way, move it forward. Move it forward. Take your community and make it not necessarily the biggest or the richest, but the most wonderful spiritual community in Toronto. You have the tools. You have the space. You have the staff. You have the location. You even have the money. I bless that you do it. And thank you so much for listening.